Sorry we haven't posted in a while. It's been a little hectic. Yes, he's going back to school. What else you doing? You started a new job, but not really a new job. Kind of a new job.
Well, I got hired with Wiggle Whiskey.
Oh, yeah. I forgot about that.
And I will...
So you work at Lululemon and Wiggle Whiskey.
Yep.
So you're into yoga pants and whiskey. Coming in hot to the tiny house.
So, as I was reading and got interrupted by you when you got home, what I read kind of inspired me for us to talk about it in Coupled in Strength. And I feel like this has been the most recent situation.
What book?
Conscious coaching.
Got it. Brett Bartholomew. Got it.
He's awesome. I've been reading this book for months because I keep rereading and rereading. And I reference him a lot on social media too. But yesterday, what I reread, and I feel like both Casey and I have recently experienced this situation, is all conflict that we experience within the world is conflict within our own selves. And another one I highlighted was, in other words, conflict keeps us honest. Does that strike anything?
The first part, no. The second part. First part, yes. The second part, no. Reread it again.
All conflict that we experience within the world is conflict within our own selves.
Right. So the way I interpret that is, you ever have a jealous friend, or like a maybe just a not so great friend, somebody
Okay,
that you
yeah.
enjoyed, but like you knew there was something a little bit
Right, off. Right.
and that jealous friend would typically project onto you or onto somebody else her jealous feelings. Like if she got the inkling that you liked somebody, she'd be like, oh, you're jealous because he likes me, right? They project onto other people whatever they're dealing with.
Okay.
So that's kind of the way I see that, right? So like, I woke up this morning, it was great. We slept in, we walked the dogs, I came to work. I don't know what happened between then and on the way to work, but I was in the worst mood when I got here. I was
Really?
grumpy, I was just like, Lindsay sat down with me and I was like, not today. Which I never do to her, because same with you, like I'll sit and I'll talk. I don't know what I'm trying to get out, but it was one of those days you drive into work and I was like contemplating the meaning of life. I don't fucking know. I'm driving my grandmother's 2004 Hyundai Sonata to fucking work, and I'm worried about what is our purpose here. It was funny. Aubrey Marcus, the CEO of On It, somebody on his podcast asked me, they're like, Aubrey, what do you think the purpose of life is? What do you think the meaning of life is? And he's like, the meaning of life? Fuck that. I can have cheeseburger, coffee, and sex in the same day. What else do I need? It's just a good way to think about it, right? Like, how fucking fortunate are you that, this is all, it's not that bad, I guess is what I'm getting at. Anyways, read me the second one again.
So do you know why I brought those things up?
Well, read me the second one.
Okay,
again.
the second one is, and obviously there's more to it, but obviously this specific sentence is what I highlighted. In other words, conflict keeps us honest.
It doesn't like strike a chord for me.
Okay.
But I also think that the obstacle is the way, right? Which I kind of look at, maybe that's what he's getting at, maybe it's not. But for me, like, if it's a challenge, it's worth doing. If it's not a challenge, it's not worth doing.
Okay.
Now that you have to take a side, right? Like it is worth it to sit down and relax, and it's not like you have to constantly be in fucking attack mode. But that's the way I interpret that. Like, the path of most resistance is probably the one that is most worth it.
Right. Right. Obviously, he's referring to his athletes. When you're in a training environment, you get a lot of different personalities, and in some shape or form along the way, you're going to have conflict. So the reason why I brought those is because I feel like, as far as like work related, you're the manager of a gym, and you experience a lot of different personalities. And then I work in a business that has a lot of different personalities, and I think a lot of people relate to that. So those struck to me because I feel like every time we experience those conflicts, we kind of lean on each other to give each other perspective. So that's why it just
Yeah, I think it's great.
influenced me to make it a topic on our episode.
Yeah. So in the sense that now that you put it in that context, as far as conflict keeps us honest, I think in a team setting, it really does, because if you're on the team for the right reasons, if you're a team player, then having an argument is not the worst thing in the world. It's okay to disagree,
Right.
just as long as that argument, that disagreement, leads to a discussion that leads to something positive.
A solution.
To where maybe the captain yells at me and hey man, you're not doing what you need to do.
Right.
And it keeps me honest to this. Yeah, am I or am I not? Like if I'm just being real with myself. So no, that makes sense.
Right.
I like that idea.
So I know it's not a recent situation, but it was a situation that happened for a period of time, and I just didn't know how to necessarily handle it. So I leaned on Casey for just some guidance and as like an outside voice.
Was this when you originally started work?
Yeah.
Okay.
So, and this book actually helped me a lot and brought a lot of things into view, because I don't want to go into a situation thinking that I know it all or I'm always like in the right. And
Well, I think more of the issue for you in that situation was not being confident. Remember we had conversations about, you were basically questioning your own integrity and work ethic.
Right.
Keeping yourself honest, and I have the same conversations with myself when something goes wrong at work or somebody isn't doing what I need them to do. I have to look at myself and say, did I put them in that position? Did I set them up for failure? And if the answer is no, then I have a conversation with them. And even if the answer is yes, I'm probably gonna have an honest conversation with them and say, hey, look,
Exactly.
I don't like what you did. Here's how I would do it the next time. How can I support you in doing that?
Right.
Where did I go wrong with you? Where I think you were just. It was a confidence thing, whether or not you want to call it that. Whatever was the root of the issue, you just weren't confident in your abilities, but you didn't have the support at work to lead you to that conclusion. Your support system was failed at work, and you weren't, for lack of a better word, it led you to question your own integrity and self-worth, unfortunately.
Yeah, but I didn't stay there.
Absolutely not. But it was an ongoing thing for a month.
Right.
It was like, you're good, and then you overthink or revisit, and you're like, oh, we had the same conversation over and over, which is fine. Sometimes, I fucking beat it into your head.
Would you say you can relate to that sort of situation, working in the oil and gas field or in just managing a gym in general?
Can I relate in the sense of, what do you mean?
Meaning, you think you're doing a good job, and your intent is always help others, grow with others. You're not like superior in any way. You always think you're in the same level in some sort of way, because that's what a team is.
I guess maybe the first thing that comes to mind, especially when you bring up the book, that he's a strength coach.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So when you bring that up, I go back to my college days, right? And we had my senior year, our defense was incredible. We were really good. I was a small piece of that puzzle. The only reason I was able to do my job is because we had 10 other guys doing their job. Our defensive coordinator had a couple of phrases. One was, do your job. It's really simple, but if you take care of what's in front of you, everybody does the same thing, you're going to be successful. And we were. Another one I took away from him too is you get what you emphasize, you get what you tolerate. I thought that was excellent. That's like a really basic principle to live your life by, or to manage by, to lead by. One thing I fucking hated about him, and this comes down to being he was a great X's and O's guy, a terrible players coach. It just boils down to being able to manage different personalities.
Right.
You can't coach everybody the same, you can't talk to everybody the same. You can, but it's not going to maximize everybody's potential.
Exactly.
So he was just super negative all the time. We make fun of John because we beat the shit out of John mentally, but he does well with it.
Right.
I don't know why, I don't know how, but we don't need to give John any positive reinforcement.
It's like me with work, believe it or not. When I worked at an outpatient behavioral health facility, and I was the assistant to the clinical director there, when she would say good job, I'd be like, all right. Like it wasn't like I didn't get any reaction to it, but when she wanted to develop me or gave me some, constructive criticism, I was like, all right. And then that motivated me. So I kind of,
Yeah, sure.
I kind of.
And there's
that.
a total difference between constructive criticism and just being critical of people. He would it was like you practice all week, you have your fucking walkthrough on Friday, games on Saturday, and, in the walkthrough, if you weren't exactly as fast as he thought you should, it's a walkthrough, by the way, if you weren't as fast as he thought you should be, or you weren't doing this, you weren't doing that, just fucking cuss you out. And it was just, at that point, all you're doing is destroying somebody's confidence.
Yeah.
He did it to me, he did it to everybody. I wasn't special, it wasn't like he was picking on me. But all I grew up with was a coach that reamed your ass out, and then at the end of the day or end of practice, slapped you on the ass, put his arm around you, said, hey, let's get it tomorrow. We never got any of that. It was always negative. And it was just really frustrating. It got to the point where we only wanted to play for each other. We didn't care about we just didn't care about him.
Right.
Because he didn't care about us. It was very apparent that he didn't care about us. We were the means to an end. And it's unfortunate, I think, especially in college, I'm getting off topic a little bit, but in college especially, those coaches have the opportunity, in high school, college, whatever, have the opportunity to change young men, young women's lives. You can instill in them good work ethics, just how to behave, how to challenge themselves, how to handle adverse situations appropriately. And instead it's just it's money. It's all about money. I want to keep my job, so I got to win, so I got to do this, instead of maximizing the potential of the people you have to work with or that are working for you.
Right. So that would be a good example of how not to be. And you could be the example of how to deal with conflict where you're able to still save that long-term relationship with whoever you're interacting with. Does that make sense? Like when there's conflict, you don't want your ego or anything to I don't know, like deal with that.
Well, ego is the enemy, right?
Ego is the enemy, and that's what I'm saying. A lot of people think of that in those certain situations versus thinking long term. How can I fix this? Never.
Right. They want to win. They want to win this argument and not worry about what the repercussions.
Exactly. Yeah.
No, that's a really good point. I think on the other side of that coin, though, in every relationship I had, I never, not that I didn't stand up for myself, but if something bothered me, I kind of just brushed it. Hey, I'll deal with it. Dishes, right? We've been over that argument a bunch of times. I used to never say anything. And I got to the point where I was so fed up, I was like, fuck this, I'll do the dishes, don't talk. Not out loud, but in my head. And it just creates this resentment. Instead of just dealing with that little argument. Don't let it build up into this big one. Right? That was my biggest takeaway. So you're right, but there is that other side of the coin too, right? Two extreme opposites.
Right.
Where you're worried about winning every argument, and then you're worried about ever having an argument.
Okay.
I never had a constructive argument in any relationship I was in.
Okay. I was referring to like work stuff.
Whatever. Couple to train.
We're a couple.
Gotta bring that shit around.
That's true. Okay. We can look at it that way.
So, but getting back to work, I'll give John Steiner a little shout out. My former boss. I won't mention the company. I guess it probably doesn't matter either way. John was only 2 or 3 years older than me, and was the best manager. The best manager I ever had, but like one of the best leaders I ever had. John fought to get me and Pat. He fought to get us raises, promotions, bonuses, all that stuff before he ever considered anything for himself. And that was one of the most important lessons I've ever learned. Because when you're young, especially right out of college, you're just chasing money. That's okay, right? Like
I was never chasing money.
But that's what I mean. Whatever your values are, you're like, yeah, I want to buy a car. I want to pay off this loan. I want to do that.
Okay.
So it's like, yeah, you're like, how do I do better for myself? And it's good to be ambitious, but yeah, John taught me that like that's not as important. And it also taught me that the harder John fought for us, the harder we fought for John. The easier we made his job. So it makes perfect sense, right? Like John could have fought and got himself a raise, a bonus, this and that. But then, how much harder Pat and I going to work for John? Maybe a little bit, maybe not. Maybe we resent that a little bit. So I don't know. I just thought that was pretty good. What else? New Onic gear, by the way. Let's talk about that real quick. Hat is sweet.
Actually, you made a pretty good point with the whole dishes thing.
Of course I made a good point.
Even though I kind of brought up the topic to discuss like work-related things, he's right. This is coupled in drink. This should go full circle.
Try to be a little productive.
Yeah. And
Take this little nugget with you.
our recent arguments have been about dishes or him talking to me like a child, or I don't know. No.
To preface this, in high school I was referred to as Father Williams. So like...
You can't steal Father Joe's spotlight though.
No,
There's only one father.
Well, I was the original father. Anyways.
He's older than you.
I've always been mature to a detriment at times. Like I was zero fun for a long time, which I'm like a little fun now, I think.
You're fun. But you made a point, and you said that you didn't say anything before in your previous relationships as far as like verbalizing your emotions or feelings or however you felt, and that kind of actually brought me perspective, because I'm thinking like I'm doing a shitty job. Like when I get home, I just want to sit down on the couch and play with the dogs, and then of course 10 minutes later he walks in, he's like, why aren't the dishes done?
I don't know if I've probably said that like 2 times.
A few times, but I get irritated, and that's why I was like, oh my god, I'm like living with a Nazi. But at least he's verbalizing.
Yeah, and it's
In
not
a
like
way.
I'm
He's
saying
not internalizing his anger at like. And
I'm not like mad at you. I'm just like, hey, what's
but
up with the dishes?
I realize that you're actually doing it from a good place, and sometimes I feel like you expect me to do things versus just letting me take care of you. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it's all expectations, right? Like my expectation is if I have time, I'm going to do the dishes. My expectation is if you have time, you're going to do the dishes.
Right.
I don't expect you to do everything. I just look at it as if I'm home before you and dinner's not ready, I'm going to start making dinner. Or if like whatever is most important at that time. If I know you were doing laundry all day and there's still something done, I'm going to run downstairs and get it done.
Your laundry
That's
is
the
done
way-
and folded.
That's what I'm talking about. But does that make sense?
Yeah,
Like
it does.
I'm like, my background's economics, so everything I do is like I try to be as efficient as possible, and it's irritating to me too. But especially with training. But that's all my point is. I'm like, if you want to sit on the couch, that's cool. But like, maybe shoot me a text ahead of time. Hey, had a rough day. Don't really want to do the dishes. So now I come home with the expectation the dishes aren't done. And that's okay. You know, instead of me expecting.
So it's just communication.
Yeah, it's like instead of, I know yes he was home before me, so the dishes should be done, this should be done, and I expect that. Not that I should, but I do. So if you're just like, hey, dishes aren't done, bitch.
It's just I don't know. I like it and I don't. And it's funny because I used to be like that when I was younger. My brother can vouch for me. I was worse than you.
Well, you clean everything, but you do it. I don't even want to say when it's convenient for you, but like sometimes it just gets out of hand and it drives me insane.
When have I done that? It's just
Very-
a few times.
Yes, very rarely.
Yeah.
I'm still gonna fucking blow a gasket.
Alrighty. Anyways, it's all good. Our arguments are lasting shorter and shorter times.
I am better at telling you why I'm upset. You are better at dealing
Taking
with
it.
it and not holding on to it.
Right.
Because before, if anything was wrong, I was like, okay, let's pick a good 72 hours to deal with this.
No, you didn't.
Yes, I did. So, progress.
Yeah. Well,
What else?
that's full circle. I think that's a good.
We fucking nailed this episode. You look at you and your topics.
Did you like them?
You did so good.
Are you being sarcastic?
No, I'm not.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh.
I think that's good though to grab like a book. Like Ego is the Enemy, there are a couple things that we could like pull out of there.
Yeah, and we can do that moving forward, and we'll do what you said, kind of go full circle and find anything that we can relate to that certain topic.
Well, that was part of my criticism of you before. We both had those issues of getting off tangent but then not bringing it back. Right?
I just don't like going off tangents. Like,
We did.
this.
I did, but it made sense. And we brought it back eventually.
Alright.
Fuck it. Sorry we haven't posted in a while. It's been a little hectic. Yes, he's going back to school. What else you doing? You started a new job, but
Started
not
a new
really
job.
a new job. Kind of a new job.
Well, I got hired with Wiggle Whiskey,
Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
and I will.
So you work at
be starting this
Lululemon and Wiggle Whiskey.
Yep.
So you're into yoga pants and whiskey. What the fuck am I doing?
You're starting a business.
Running the gym. Got my online clients. Love you guys. You guys are very supportive. I appreciate you guys. A friend of mine, we're going to open a float tank. We're going to open a sensory deprivation tank in Pittsburgh. So I'm pretty fucking excited about that.
Details to come.
Yeah. I'm going to be really tired the next 6 months. Who do we need to support? Onnit.com, Caveman Coffee, Tate Fletcher. I think that's it for now.
We haven't talked about Wes in a while, but Rogue American Apparel. We
Rogue
always love
American
those
Apparel.
guys.
Those guys are always fun to work with.
That's about it. All right, guys.
So
I'm
shoot
gonna
us.
go train bench. You're gonna help me, please.
So shoot us an email, ymartinezstrength@gmail.com, cwilliamstrength@gmail.com. Mine was the original. She copied it.
That's a little corny. We have matching Gmails.
Terrible. It's the worst thing in the world. Oh, I just got an idea.
What?
Stay tuned.